So you're the son of immigrants?
Yeah, my parents. I always say they came here on a boat, but they didn't actually get here on boats. My mom came here in like 75 or 76. Her brother, my Uncle Vas. So I have Uncle Vas on each side. This Uncle Vas is still alive, and he lives in Pennsauken. But he was here first. He left Greece at like 16. So eventually my mom found him out here in like 75, 76. My dad at the time was living in Germany. I went through some stuff with his business. Ended up moving back to Greece in like 81, 82. And then moved here by like 83. Had never met my mom before. So they kind of just got together. And next thing you know, I was born in like in 85. So they got together, got married, and then here I am.
Damn.
It's a pretty weird story. They kind of spoke over the phone, and that was it. It was just a little strange.
I was going to ask, how did that affect, or what was music like in your house?
We didn't really have...
Yeah.
I don't really have any old heads who showed me the way either. So I liked rap early on, and then I quickly, I think, went to like alternative grunge, metal, things like that, just harder music for a while. I tried to learn how to play guitar at like 10, 11. That didn't really work out. And then when I got to high school, I remember I really liked Korn. And then when I got to high school, Korn dropped their third album, and every song sounded the same. And I was like, I am not having this shit. And something changed, and I just started listening to a lot of hip-hop, and I was just pretty much running with hip-hop since then, probably like 12, 13, in an all-white Catholic high school. It was weird. You know, it kind of stuck out. But, before that, it was kind of like, you know, Nirvana, Pantera, even like Green Day. Green Day was my first tape. But even then, like, I would like R.E.M. and Warren G at the same time. So I like all different kinds of music.
Yeah.
But I kind of went really, really rap with it probably like 15, 16, a couple years in high school. And I got into underground rap through like Napster and the internet. And it opened up a whole different world to me that I didn't know was there. But like at 13, 12, it was like Wu-Tang, Biggie Smalls, Nas, you know, the classics. The 90s era stuff.
And you started rapping around that time?
I started writing raps at like 13,
Yeah.
and then I stopped. And then around 19, I just started drinking and like hanging out at bars and stuff, and we would just rap outside. So I would just kick freestyles, and I would just freestyle, and people would be like, yo, you need to kick some open mics. So I was like, all right. And then I would go to this open mic. I went to my very first one. And I met the dudes who would become my rap group. Like, I didn't know it then, but after we did a couple of these open mics, we kind of became cool. And I still hadn't written any rhymes. I was just freestyling everything for months at this point. And then, like, we became a rap group. And then it's like, oh, so what's next? We got to start making records. And I had to learn how to write rhymes and structure and make songs and work with people. And that group, it was called Contra. It was me, Burke the Jerk. Luke Ross was the producer. This kid from it was Luke Raw's boy from Jersey, DJ Action. It was my man for a while. I don't really fuck with him anymore, but we hung out a lot in those days. And my man Therapist, he was from my neighborhood, and he's the one who brought me to the open mics. He was working at a bar, and we just kicked some freestyles outside. And he brought me to the open mics. So we're not as close as we used to be, but he just kind of toured Canada a little bit and did some things. And Burke the Jerk, who I'm still pretty close with, he moved to Florida recently, but he dropped 3 really solid records. He did some touring in Canada as well, and his stuff was doing some numbers for a while around last year. But since his move to Florida, he's kind of calmed down. So those were like my original friends, and it's cool that some of them are still doing stuff in the game. You know, even with or without me, it's still cool. But we just started kicking raps at bars on the corner. You know, just high and drunk and just shooting the shit, you know, just kind of organic. I hate to say it that way. It's kind of pretentious, but it's kind of how it came up.
Were you a listener of freestyling? Because this was like 2004-ish?
Yeah, exactly. I was about 20, so...
Because I just talked to Vaka, and we were talking about how freestyling was like kind of the thing.
We're from Philly.
Yeah.
So, like, we don't play that written shit when we're kicking freestyles. Because we'll know. People know. You know what I mean? And so, like, if you want to kick writtens, that's fine. But, like, don't try and say it's a freestyle. So, when you generally impress people with stuff you're coming off of the top of your head with extemporaneously, it's a whole different feeling and it's a whole different environment. And other MCs really like that because not everybody can do it. And then they get to then you get to play games with each other and rap together, and really in real time ping pong ideas, thoughts, feelings, and patterns. Cadences. There's a lot of communication going on while competing and collaborating, all in real time. So, and if there's a DJ playing beats, they're involved too. And then you have the spirit of the people making the beats, the souls of the people in the instruments that were being played that were sampled, So in that moment, there's a lot of magic happening, and it's really special stuff. And that's why it's a freestyle, because it's free. You can't capture it, you can't save it. Now, when we have technology, you can video it or record it, but it's still not the same as being there and watch it happen, and watching the gerbil run on the wheel and produce this crazy effect, in the crowd just by their words, stuff that they never even thought of before, just for you and the people that are there.
Yeah. And this or some of this, a lot of this took place at a Long Shot Lounge.
The very early days, so the very, very first sessions were at the Pontiac Grill, which is now Dobbs, which I don't know if it's open anymore, but Dobbs was running strong for a while. But when I went, it was the Pontiac Grill. I wasn't even old enough to get in. And then we saw the success of that. We're like, well, we could do this. Therapist was like, I got a bar in the Northeast that I bar back at. They have a huge basement. We could do this there. So we just started running nights at the Long Shot Lounge in this non-kosher, not legal environment, right? We'd pack, 30, 40, 50, one time like 100, 120 people.
Damn.
Smoking, drinking, it was wild. And those were the shit. Those were the best days. We had a really good time. We were coming together. Everything was positive. The people in the community that we looked up to started to embrace us, and that's always cool when you're not idols, but when people you look up to become your peers.
Yeah.
Guys like Diggs Darklighter, who you're an alumnus with, actually, and my man Adam 12, and Tarp. The DJs like Panic and the Ill Vibe Collective. Now we came up together, but Random, aka Mega Rand, who's doing really big things and tours nonstop. He was at a different field at the time, but he came up with us and brought us up. So it was much more like we were young. Maybe I was just naive, but it was a sense of community, and we were kind of doing things that people looked up to so young that it was cool. Like we were trying to make some moves early in the game. And Therapist Steve, he had a lot to do with that. He was more of a go-getter. He had been working in the bar since he was a kid, and he knew how to talk to people and book shows. And one thing about me and the group was that I had the least experience making music. I was not a musician. Burke and Steve are both all-city choir, public school choir. Burke went to GAMP, Girard Academy for Music, and Steve went to Kappa, the Creative and Performing Arts School. So they were all-city choir. They knew how to perform and all that. And I was just, I'm like an alien. Like I was just dropped off, and here I am. And I was freestyling in Greek the first time they met me, rapping in my mom's voice, yelling at me. And they're like, dude, we'd never seen nothing like this. So I learned a lot from them in terms of structure. But really, it all came just from knowing other rap songs and, listening to good, if you listen to good people who are supremely talented, it'll rub off if you make them your influence,
What were your influence? Not just like what were you listening to, but like, do you think, were there any rappers that had like a direct effect on your...
Biggie Smalls is the wickedest. Yeah, I always loved Big because he's fat and fly. And he didn't have to do a lot of tricks to impress you. He could, he could talk pretty straight and it would hit you like a sledgehammer. And like, he may have only needed a sledgehammer, but he could do a lot of stuff with it, I was always very influenced by Biggie Smalls, and then even more so by Wu-Tang Clan, just because their subject matter was more stuff that I could vibe with, and it was more abstract, which I liked, and they talked a lot about ideas, and they even like things I'll pick up now, 20 years later, like I didn't know then. Like they were talking, and they just said a lot of stuff. A lot of it was stream of consciousness, but you'd hear things and then look them up, and so Wu-Tang, supremely huge to me. And then a little bit later, Jedi Mind Tricks for sure. Just I didn't know you could do things that way. Like I always thought there was a machine and a structure. So Last Emperor and Jedi Mind Tricks, not so much in terms of how I rap, but kind of how I make the music and the feel and the sound that I wanted. From Last Stamp, he never did anything he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And he was creative as shit and never boxed himself in. And from Jedi, just stooped using 85 samples on one song and making it an opus like they didn't give a shit. And Vinny would talk about whatever he wanted to, and just, you know what I mean? They would talk about subjects kind of like Wu, more abstract, but they had more of a directness to it and a feel and an anger. And I liked that. And so definitely they were a huge influence to me right around 2002, I would say 2003, high school, early college era. And then like the stuff that was popping on the radio then was better. It was 50 Cent, you know? It was Jay-Z was now the best rapper, and he's like a hood dude, you know? So it was a kind of like, you know, old heads cry about that era. It was a good era to come up in. And not that, you know, real rap was back, but think about all the indie artists who were huge. A lot of them came out from then. From MF Doom to Nonfiction to Jedi Mind Tricks to the whole Def Jokes. That's like 97 to 2004, you know. All the guys who are still giants today, A$AP Rock, Atmosphere. It was the golden era for vinyls and independent labels and being able to make money kind of early dawn of the internet in terms of like the mass communicator. So it was a good era, and people believed that you could come up and make an honest living doing indie rap at that time. So it was a good era and a lot of influence. Like I took a little bit from everybody, but you know, mostly like I said, Nas, Biggie, Wu. Nas more for the wisdom. I always try and sprinkle some gems, but not kind of emulate how he raps. I don't. You know, people would tell me who I rap like, you know, like all the time. You sound like, before I even listen to Rugged Man, you sound like Rugged Man.
Yeah,
you sound like Self-Titled.
Yeah.
They just reviewed, in France, my album, V for Vigoda, cheap plug, go cop that, or listen to it, it's everywhere, I guess. Said I sound like Method Man, which I'd never thought of before. Yeah. So, you know, I usually just let people tell me what they think. I just try and be as creative as possible. Oh, one more huge influence. Day one, first beat I ever wrote to. Remember I told you I started writing when I was 13. Sean Price, I wrote to a Helter Skelter. So a lot of people like to wave the Sean Price flag now that he's dead.
Yeah.
But like A1 Day One, that was one of my favorite rappers. Everybody liked Rock. I always liked the other guy. Rock. I always liked the other guy because he was witty and weird and original. And I wrote my very first raps to I Ain't Having That. I used to buy the CD singles of shit, and that's, you know, how I got Stubbs. My very first bars were on that beat. So Sean Price is huge to me for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, Rugged Man was definitely my first thought.
Yeah, I get that, but when I first heard you sound like Rugged Man, I was like, the Chris Jericho rapper? Like, I didn't do my homework, you know? And now, like, to be compared to that dude is so... I'm a huge fan. I went to his show. I bought a T-shirt, like, you know, and he is a huge influence, not only in terms of how he raps and how he don't give a fuck and I will talk shit, but, like, how good he is to his fans. Like, he really appreciates all that shit, and he's chose to make a career of keeping it real, and, you know, he's lost a lot from that in life, you know, but I don't think he'd have it any other way. And now, you know, he's really succeeding in his, you know, early 40s or late 30s, wherever he's at, way more than he did when he was, you know, young and fresh, where you're supposed to make it. So, you know, that dude is a inspiration, I think, to a lot of rappers. They should watch how he does it, and he stays fresh, and he's still better than fucking everybody, and nobody wants it with him. I got a lot of love for Rugged Man. But again, at the time, I'd be like, the Chris Jericho rapper? Or Self-Titled, I'd be like, really? You know? But now, those dudes blow me away. So, you know, there's huge compliments back then, and I was just being naive and stupid, you know. But people would always be like, oh, you sound like this or that. You know, I used to just try and be as creative as possible and not rap the same way twice, not try and do the same things intentionally. Sometimes it's, you know, it happens, but I like to be creative and fresh and let each song dictate the way it's going to
go. You weren't listening to Rugged Man then, but you did mention like some Def Jux guys.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if being white, if that had like an effect. If that showed you that like white dudes can...
Eminem was the first, right? And then I found out DJ J Ski was white, who I used to tape all his shows off of Power 99, or was it 103.9? I can't remember. I used to tape all his shit. And then that really was crazy to me. But they were like on the... They were commercial, you know, and then... Before I found out Paz was white in Jedi Mind Tricks, because that blew my mind. I was watching BT, and I saw End to End Burners come on by Company Flow, and I saw this ginger white dude. And I was like, what? Isn't that albino? You know what I mean? And I had to watch a little. There's a crusty video. Have you ever seen it? It's kind of crusty. And I was like, all right. So just knowing there was another white dude, trying to do it. And I was like, this is cool. And I wasn't even rapping at the time, but I just thought it was really cool. And then I was just trying to, listen to more cool stuff at the time. And Def Jokes is a huge influence. Little by little. I didn't take it in all at once. Like at first, I listened to Company Flow. And then I would always follow LP, but then I listened to Aesop quite a bit. And then much later I came around to my favorite shit, which is, the Cold Vein, Cannibal Ox. That's one of my favorite records of all time. But like at 17, I had a radio show at LaSalle. I was a freshman at LaSalle, and I would play Murs because they'd give us like records that you had to play. And like we had the Murs record, and I would play that stuff because it was Def Jokes. So I was just trying to, I like the more abstract, different, weird shit. I don't want to be like everybody else, so it kind of attracted me. But I don't know if that was just because I was white and I was already kind of going to stick out and rap anyway. It's cool now to be a white rapper in 2017. I would have never thought. Like, it's not the stigma.
Yeah.
It's weird, man, because like 5-6 years ago, you go out on a date. What do you do for fun? You'd be like, oh, I like to rap. I should be like, well, yeah, I like wrap Christmas presents, and then they find out, and then it's always like, but now it's way different. I interviewed for a job at a real serious company, and they watched one of my videos after I left, and they helped them make the decision to hire me, which is strange to me, but I think the stigma's gone, and people like a creative outlet, and people like people who are creative, and that's all well and good, and I'm like, then you're going to hear my rap. I don't rap. I don't rap like everybody else, and I say a lot of foul shit. I have a trash mouth. I'm pretty vulgar. So like people at work are like, "Oh, I should come see you rap." I'm like, I'm just gonna warn you now. It's a little vulgar. It's my outlet. It's my therapy time. But I wouldn't do it any other way. I wouldn't want to put any type of brackets on it or base it in. I like keeping it exactly how I want to do it.
I feel that way with stand-up. People will be like, "Oh, I'll come see you," and I'm like, "No, like you don't have to. You don't want to."
I don't ever say no because it's weird what people like. And one thing too is like if you're true to you and people like you, they'll kind of already see it coming, even if you don't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like my parents, people like that in their age, I'm like, no. This isn't for you so much, like stiffer people who are very religious. I tend to be like, I don't think you're gonna like this, but hey, check it out anyway. Just don't judge me.
I imagine even more so being like first generation from immigrants
for sure.
They might not understand.
They don't get it at all.
Yeah. And
they don't support it at all. Even now, like I'm 31, I'm about to be 32. They're like, what are you doing? Yeah, they don't get it. I remember my dad coming home and Wu-Tang Forever was playing Triumph and Old Dirty Bastards, riffing and tiffing. And he comes in, he's like, this is what you're listening to? And I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. And he just didn't get it, First time I bought a CD, I was at Circus City on Cottman Ave, and we went in, and I give him Junior Mafia, and he takes one look at this and just hands it back to me. Just go pick something else, And one thing is, my dad is definitely not racist. Like my mom might have a little something from the old country, and she's not as open minded as my dad is. She's very close, but. My dad's like, yo, listen to some Barry White. You know what I mean? Why don't you check out Hootie and the Blowfish? He'd be like, these guys are great. And I'm like, I'm not having that. So I bought Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness instead. And didn't really like it. Like, it was, I felt like I was falsely advertised. All the singles were hard. And the whole album's really soft and, melodramatic, kind of what the album. I was too young to know what the album meant. The title meant it. And it was a double CD, so I was like, "Eat that, old man! You're gonna buy me 2 CDs instead of 1." Should have got that Junior Mafia record. Yeah. My parents being old school, like I never had equipment. You know what I mean? I wanted to be a DJ, but I couldn't even I wouldn't ask my parents for things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like. Kids would be like, yeah, I asked my mom for this DJ set, and they bought me a mixer. I was like 12, and I'd be like, Yeah, my parents like, don't be asking us for stuff. Like, you're gonna figure stuff out, and the less you need. And now I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
Outside of not being able to DJ, because you can make money DJing. Ain't no money in rap. I'll tell you that shit. There is no money in rap unless you know how to do it and you devote your life to it. Like I said, we were talking before about jumping.
Yeah.
People who really make money in rap, all they do is hustle all day, like rap, this, that, you know what I mean? And they have to be free to do that. You can't have anything else in your way. So kind of is rough. I know a couple dudes with families who do it, and it's kind of rough for family life. You're gone half the year, more than half the year. That's how you make your real money, you know? But they dedicate their lives to that, and I respect them a lot for that. But it's something that, you know, with me, I can't really give up like a 9-to-5 gig. I need that stability. I'll never starve. I can't be a starving artist. You know, I'll be an unheard artist, whatever, but I can't stop. I'm too fat to starve, man. I live a certain way, and I've always lived a certain way. My parents, again, we didn't have everything, but I never needed for anything. I wanted for a lot of shit, but I never needed for shit. You know what I mean? They always took care of me, sent me to Catholic school. So, in a way, like, I can't live like a total piece of shit. Like, even if I'm a dirtbag, I need to eat good, you know. I can't do the ramen noodle diet. And that's to my detriment. Like, maybe I'd be, you know, in a better position if I could, but I can only live like me. So those kind of sacrifices are hard to make, and much respect to the people who do them. Like, I salute the shit out of you. Go get your fucking dreams, and I'll support the shit out of you, too. Like, if I see you living like that, I'll have your back. Like, you know, I feel your pain, and I'll help you carry some of your weight a little bit here and there when I can. You know, and that goes to all my artist friends. I got your back. Even if I don't necessarily like your shit, like, if you're doing it, do it. If you're going to do it 100%, I got you. I'll be there for you, you know? Because I can't do that. So it lets me live a little bit through them as well, you know?
Yeah, there's a weird thing with that. I had a buddy on before, guy George Wallace, he's an artist, and we were talking about how you hear so much from people about supporting artists, and we just happen to mostly hang out with other artists, and it's like, well, everyone I know is like pretty much broke, so like they tend to not support the thing, you know.
Here's my thing. I don't get in my face with my product, you know, but if you force the other artists to support you, they will. You put it in their face, but yo, I did this. You should check this out. You know, with the comedy, it's kind of different to get them to come, or to make like a podcast is cool, but people can support that on the low. You know, it's different when you put out a project, like you do a party, you see who's gonna come out because it's a one-time thing, right? Yeah. And then, you know, my record, like an album release party last night. It's people's album release party. I'm not trying to push my record, but a real artist should be, you know, not giving a shit. Like, yo, I need to be able, like, I did this show just for the time to be able to talk to the people to sell my records. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas I did the show to help my friends because I know that it's a crazy show, and then I know how to host a show and keep it together and make sure that, you know, it looks professional, we have a good time, and the crowd stays there, you know? And I still sold a couple records. People were like, yo, make sure I don't leave without one. And I'm like, yeah, you should buy their records too. Like, I'm going to buy them too. I'm like, okay. But, you know, really trying to keep the money together, like circulate the money in the community, you know? And it gives you an incentive to keep working, because if you keep working, you'll keep having more product, you know? But putting stuff out's expensive. Making music isn't cheap, you know? And I'm not a do-it-yourselfer. So I don't know how to engineer. I don't know how to make beats. All I know how to do is talk shit in various medium and form and write, you know? So I leave that to the experts, which is good, because when you trust somebody who's good at what they do, it's like some guys can do it all themselves, but I don't believe in that. Like, I'm really good at doing this. You're really good at doing that. Going to school for economics, knowing that it's better to specialize and then get together, you know? Some guys, though, they're a one-man band, and much credit to them. I just can't do that. I'm a collaborative artist. I like to get together with people and bounce ideas off them and see, you know, different perspectives and make sure it's making the art as good as it can be, you know, from a couple different angles.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I tried that. I was like, I'll DIY this, and then like the podcast even, then it was like, I need art, and it was like, well, I'm gonna have to like reach out to someone. And
I know
like,
people who'll be like, no,
that person.
They'll DIY the art. Yeah. They'll do their website. You know what I mean? And that's crazy. Like, I just started a podcast. Like, we haven't put any episodes out, but I went to this dude. He doesn't even know me like that. But my friend's like, yo, reach out to him. And I was like, okay. And I reached out to him, and he came back with 2 logos, like a little box one and a little, in a week for nothing. Shouts to Solo Fredolo if you guys need any artwork, music production. He also raps. Dope artist out of North Jersey. He did some work on my friend Ren Thomas's album, I've Been Nice. You guys should go buy that, as well as my friend Adlib's album, Primitive Tomorrow, which just came out yesterday. He's about to embark on like a 40-day tour or something. So go support those guys, man.
Yeah.
Adlib's one dude I watched come up all the way, and he has a family at home, and he's all business. So the music for him is all business. I can't, like I said, I can't do it that way, but I can really respect somebody who does that and puts their life into the art like that. It's all he's on all the time, Probably let's see something with the kids.
How was that show last night?
I had a blast. It was work. Crowd was good. I don't know if you ever heard of this young kid, Mad Squabbles.
Oh, yeah.
He's about 19. We caught a few bodies last night. He was very good. Space Camp is Adlibs he's like a side group he did with Split Devo and this guy Oski. They're all from like the Lehigh Valley area. And that it's like a Beastie Boys, Cypress Hill. It was dope. Like I could see that doing very well. I'd never heard it before. I just know that they put it together. Ren's set was great. The highlight for me was my friend Screwtape, my friend Tab. They have a project coming out, and it was a Tab on the acoustic guitar, our friend Joe Larson on the drums, and Screwtape on the vocals. And Tab also sings and raps. And so it was really cool. And they have a project called Beauty Number 2 coming out soon, and it's a topic piece about love and loss and drugs. So, yeah, those dudes are dope. Super talented. Like the label Sensi Star, a lot of those guys are on. All talent all over that label. If you ever see anything with their logo on it, go buy it twice. Support them in everything they do. Because it's not just a music thing, it's a culture thing and a knowledge thing.
Yeah.
And trying to, not necessarily make the world a better place, but lubricate it and make it a little easier to live in. Those are my dudes for sure, top to bottom. So anything with that logo on it, definitely go support it. They had a lot to do with that show last night.
You hosted that show. Is that something you've done a lot of?
I've done a little bit of hosting. I'd like to host. I like hosting.
Is that something you feel natural at?
I feel natural in front of a crowd, no matter what I'm doing. I don't really get awkward,
Were you always that way?
Yeah.
I guess freestyling, there's something that...
You kind of have to have it or not. There's a picture of me on a table at a wedding before I can remember with a mic in my hand in New York, before I moved to Philly. So I moved to Philly in 87. I was born in Queens, New York. And the fucking mic's in, like I'm at a wedding singing along. You know what I mean? So not all kids are going to do that, I'm a ham for sure.
Yeah.
And I like... not so much with athletics, but like with like this kind of shit, I like the lights and I like the crowd and I like the bigger the crowd, and I really feed off of the crowd's energy, and the crowd needs to know that. Like Philly crowds are tough, but when they're rocking, I'm rocking on a whole nother level. That you suck their, like Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat, like I suck a little piece of all their souls out and take it into me, and it elevates my performance and makes it even better, knowing that, the crowd is into it like that. I like that. But even with hosting, like, you got to keep their attention. Yeah. They just want to go to the bar, go outside and smoke, so you got to try and keep them. And I run a tight ship. Yesterday was a crazy show with, like, 10 acts, and I run a tight ship. So there was not a lot for me to do, and just being there, being professional, being on time, and making sure everybody else is acting like a professional, not a jerk off, is half the battle. Then everything else will take care of itself.
You said performing live's your favorite aspect of...
Yeah, it really is. Because I rehearse, and then I get to know my lyrics, and then I get to flex. So, like, usually the recording process, I'm freshly writing it or whatever, and I record it a certain way. Ideally, I should be able to perform it 40 times or something before I really put it down, so I know how I want to do it. Not only that, seeing the immediate reaction and immediate gratification when people understand something or pop to it is crazy for me, because I don't think people are going to understand anything I say. I rap for me, so like I don't know, and when it hits, it just feels so good. And you never know who it's going to be. Like, people come up to me, all shapes, sizes, creeds, ethnicities, and they all fuck with it at different shows. The people who you wouldn't expect to fuck with it. So, you know, one thing about music is it brings people together, and that's, you know, why I think I got so close to, I never saw anything as a kid bring people together like hip-hop. There's always black people over here, white people over here, Latino people over here. Hip-hop, you saw everybody together. So subconsciously as a kid, that must have been huge on me, and it's kind of why I do it. So when I see people from, you know, girls to, you know, middle-aged black men to, you know, people who barely speak English liking this shit's crazy to me. And it's really wants me to keep going, and that's the feeling that I get. It's kind of like an instant album review. Like, you know, you get a piece of my heart and then be like, yo, that shit was great. And you can tell when somebody means that shit, you know?
Yeah.
Especially here. A lot of shoulder shrugs and b-boy stances in the crowd. And people might not even make noise, and you get off stage, 10 people shake. It's weird. It's a weird town.
Yeah.
It's a crazy place.
And you still perform at open mics in the Great Room?
I did that, but I rapped there. Like, I did a set. I might go back. Durkin, who runs that show, shouts to the John and my friend Pat Durkin. We went to high school together.
Okay.
We were on Model UN together. He brought it up before he introduced me. And I got to rock out. And what's weird at, like, band open mics, there's no interfaces. I had to plug in straight to my laptop off the Windows Media Player and have my roommate Dan, a.k.a. DJ T-Rex, on the short arm scratch, just play right off the Windows Media Player. You know what I mean? It was awkward, but it worked, and the sound was good. The last time I did that in Quakertown, the sound was really bad. So, like, open mics in my traditional sense are DJs spinning and rappers getting together. So this is like an instrumentalist open mic. And Pat's so talented, he can play all the instruments. So he's always there, and a couple guys who can fill in. So if you play the instruments, Grape Room every other Wednesday, Open John, it's a great time. Then I'm definitely going to go back and just rock out with them on the instruments. But that's not my kind of open mic, you know? One of the main open mics that I cut my teeth at was the Thor Takeover at Medusa Lounge, 21st and Chestnut. And it would be every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. So, like, I didn't have to go every Tuesday, but when I went, there were people there rapping. And, you know, to get your mic time, you had to be nice. Like, people weren't playing around, you know what I mean? Because there's limited time while the DJ's DJing. Everybody wants to rap. So that really made me a lot better. And, again, I freestyle throughout all those. I never kick any written. So it's always me trying to elevate my game. And one thing about freestyles, you're not always on.
Yeah.
So you have an off one, you're like, you know what, the next one's going to be fine. You learn to dust yourself off and keep it moving and stay positive, because if you get negative, it's not going to be any good. So those open mics were great. Then they moved them to Chinatown for a while. A lot of those guys, I think Godhead, he ran those. He moved to New York. Some of the other guys are still in Philly. But Thor Takeover, shouts out to them. They were always putting on open mics. And before that, it was the Pontiac Grill. Nowadays, I don't really see any open mics. Trey Digger does one on Sundays. Sammy's place, but Sundays are rough, you know, for me. And I'm not as young as I used to be. I used to be able to stay out every night and do whatever, get into, you know, just make stories, you know, live the story. I gotta be in bed and get up and go to work.
What year was that? Or like time frame?
So that was early in the game, like 2005, I would say, 2006.
Yeah, I feel like you don't really see hip-hop open, or at least like the way you would like hear about them in like hip-hop songs, you know, or like talking about the open mics, and it's like I don't really. And like there'd be a couple featured performers, but everybody would be there, and it really built a community, you know. You got to, like, that's how I met Johnny Cab. He's a rapper too, so he was freestyling at these open mics. He used to have a rap partner named Lynx, and they had a group called Big Heads. That was very Def Jukesy, like very ahead of its time. I'm not the biggest fan of Lynx as a rapper because he's Jamaican, but doesn't use it to his advantage when it would sound so good. You know, he tries to be like abstract, but he has like a patois accent. It doesn't, you know, work for me. But John, I could tell with the beats, he was crazy. And then he would rap really good, and we just hit it off from there. And that's what cemented some relationships that I still have, you know, today.
People I don't see every day. I just see in the streets. Like I know them from open mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never really forget kind of who you were kicking with. Some dudes I think about I haven't seen in 10 years. There's just one dude, myself and I. He's from DC. He was kicking with us a lot. I haven't seen him in like 10 years. There's another dude who I never met, but I saw him rap one time and I listened to him a lot. His name was IMIC. He's really dope. I think he had a deal with Scott Storch lined up and fucked it up. And I haven't heard of him. And we came up with a conversation the other day. I didn't know nothing about him. My boy Gary was like, yeah, I talk to him once a month. Still making music. I'm like, how come I haven't heard, I haven't heard anything. So it's weird, but you still think about the dudes who were dope. And they impressed you then and they made you want to work harder. You'd hear a dude on a record, he'd make you want to work harder. But he was like a superhero, somebody you're reading in like a comic book, you know? But then when your man sitting right next to you is nice like that, you're like, well, I can do that. You know what I mean? Let me work harder. Let me try and get a little better. And I never actually worked harder. I'm very lazy. I'm very lazy, and I hate to say it like this, but I just let it come very naturally, and I don't try and overthink it. And sometimes when I do, simplification is best, and I like to edit a little bit. But usually the writing process is very just stream of consciousness, and then a little bit of an editing process afterwards.
Were you or do you write anything else? Were you writing anything else besides rap?
I don't, and I want to. I really do. I have 2 books planned out that I'd like to write.
Oh, really?
About my life. Yeah, Bukowski-esque. The first book is tentatively titled Pizza, about my life and times in the pizza store, which is all like I was rapping the whole time, so there's like a lot of rap to it too. And the second one is called 2 Bullets and 2 Major Awards. I was shot 2 years ago, and that was a crazy part of my life. So 3 years ago now, yeah. So I had some stories around that time too. So I wanted to plan those out. But you gotta take the time to write. I don't even take time to write rhymes right now. Let alone put pen to pad. But I think that's a natural transition. I just like the oratory aspect of rapping too. I like talking as much as even more than I like writing. So, that's what made rapping cool, is like writing, and I would freestyle to start. So it was like writing in real time, off the top of your head, while balancing out musically and making it rhyme. It's cool. It challenged me a lot, and I think it makes my writing easier now. I just can't type for shit. I gotta take fucking typing classes at work. Like I hunt and peck. People look at me like you're a professional. I'm like, get out of my face, man. Everything's spelled wrong. Words per minute like 12.
Yeah, I read that 7th Borough interview, and all the other questions and answers are very jokey. And then like I think the first question was like you talked about getting shot, and I was like, is he being serious? And then I seen like some other interviews, and I was like, oh yeah, like he is. Yeah,
that was some crazy shit. That was some shit, man. I was coming from a job interview. It was insane. And I didn't get any real damage either. Like the doctors cut me open, and then the hip hop gods frowned upon me for going to a Stitches show and gave me a hernia. And I still have right where the incisions were made for no reason.
Damn.
Yep, I shouldn't have went to that Stitches show. But he's Greek, man. I was trying to support my fellow Greek brother, and I like that Brick in Your Face song. It made me watch Hellraiser 1 and 2, which I had never seen before. So at least for that, motherfucking Stitches.
You talked about the PTSD. Is that something you're still coping with?
Yeah.
I imagine. Yeah,
I don't do therapy, which I should, but I just smoke a lot of weed and try and mask my issues. But the PTSD is weird. I haven't really been down like that. I was working a job that was very, very stressful, and I broke up with my girlfriend all after the shooting, about 8 months later, and it just came to a head, and I just didn't want to fucking do that shit. Like I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be anywhere. I just wanted everything to stop, and the world doesn't stop for you. You can't just take a pause and be like, all right, it doesn't work that way. So I went to Greece, first time in 15 years, saw my family, came back, felt a lot better, but I wasn't quite taking care. I'm still not fully taking care of myself. It's one thing we talked about on my podcast. Is like they're like, when did you make the turn? And I was like, I'm still turning.
Yeah.
Like every day is shit. You know what I mean? Like you got to eat your shit sandwiches, and the more you smile through the shit sandwich, the better it'll be. And the PTSD makes me want to be like, no, I don't want to do this. Fuck this shit. I shouldn't even fucking have to do this. It gives you a sense of entitlement, and it's all in your head. Yeah. You know, you're just fucking hurt. There's a trauma. So if you stay self-aware, and mindfulness is good, breathing exercises, and just being aware of what happened and not letting it get to you, and you know, really putting it in place in your life. And this is where goals are important. And I've told you I don't really do goals. They help, like, give you something to live for. And so it's really easy to build a bridge if you know where you're going.
Yeah.
Like, once you know what you want, and that's I don't know what the fuck I want out of this life. That's why I never put, like, on my job, I'm like, you know, 4 fingers in, and then in rap, I'm like a finger in, you know. With this podcast that we're working on, I'm showing up and contributing, but it's not my thing, you know, so I'm, you know, dipping a toe in there. So, you know, really just trying to, you know, just still riding the wave of life instead of really trying to grab it by the reins and put my, you know, smack on it. It's just, you know, I'm not that kind of dude, you know. I like life, you know. It's shitty. We're shitty. That's the problem. Yeah. Life is good. People are shitty. You know, I hate to talk about this right now, but like you just turn on the TV and it's just the shittiest person of all time is in your face. You know, the most egocentric, plastic pimp, you know, really a terrible, horrible person is now the American Idol. You know, so it's kind of hard to take the world seriously. But I've started to take myself more seriously, and the more you try and, you know, be the change. There's just too fucking many of us. We're like a virus. It spreads fucking everywhere.
Well, I always make the example of I went like 10 years without buying a pair of Nikes, and they were still making as much money. And I was like, well, I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, because I think, and it's taken a while. I think we've become more acknowledging PTSD, at least with like troops. But
thank God for the government having to record this shit, because no one would believe how many troops kill themselves every day.
Yeah.
It's a fucking alarming, crazy number. You know what I mean? And so we think about Vietnam and like how much crazier that was. Yeah. And these are not my father, but these are our fathers. You know what I mean? This is in us now. Yeah. You know? That trauma, it passes through, not necessarily genetically, but through, you know, the life experiences and talking or not having your dad, you know. And the same thing we see now, but with more technology, more studies, with more recording. And these dudes didn't even have to go through Vietnam. They went through, you know, and they're still like, this is incredibly fucked up for anybody to have to live through. And a lot of them would rather kill themselves. And I think a lot of that has to do with how they medicate them. You know, and I think that's helped with a lot of PTSD understanding, and in turn marijuana laws too, which I think help things, especially for soldiers. You know, when they decriminalized weed in Philly, it was a former soldier who said he wanted the very first citation out front of City Hall. He told the cops, "I'll be there at 8 a.m. for you to write me up. I want to smoke the first joint," you know, because he's got to be dead if it wasn't. So at least we're understanding certain things. And it's not just like a 4-letter word you just throw on something for how it is. Like, trauma is real. I call it like a termite. I've used this metaphor before. I didn't know I had any PTSD after the shooting. I thought I was like, I can do anything, you know? And it just started eating away at my foundation without me even realizing it. It just left me very hollow. I didn't really, you know, I didn't build myself back up. And that's where therapy and talking to somebody is important. Yeah, the real trauma for me of it is that's my home. I go there. I park in that spot. Damn. You know what I mean? All the time. Yeah. We found the bullet. Like, I have a bullet in my house that my dad found when the snow melted. So, I got to live it again and again. And I smoke a lot of weed, so I went to Greece. I couldn't smoke any weed. And then I got an allergy. I couldn't really drink. I had some pretty crazy, wild nightmares, and this is like 2 years later, you know. So it's definitely still in there, but acknowledging it and knowing that I'm okay and that I lived through it is good. Knowing that the police did nothing to help take those people off the street, and I'm not the biggest proponent of jail, but these motherfuckers shot me face down on the ground after they robbed me for no reason. They didn't have to do that. We didn't have any issues in the street. I don't know these guys from a can of paint. I was a Vic. I got caught out there. Shit happens. I ain't mad at that, you know. But the fact that these two dudes probably dusted, you know what I mean, just trying to impress each other, popping caps on people, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And so they should definitely have been at least, you know, put into some type of check. But it's hard, like, you know, I had my cousins riding around for me in the street, and I don't want him or anybody else to get involved in my issues, you know. And ideally, like, I did everything I could to the justice system to support them on this, which I had a lot of conflict about as well. But, you know, they didn't do shit. So, again, it's just another day, you know, just trying to stay positive and not think about that part of it, just think about the positive aspects of it, you know.
Yeah.
But when you tell the story, you know, you dig up all the muck and you're like, oh, motherfuckers. I remember I saw the one detective out in the streets on Broad Street where I was working. He's like, "We need you, bud. We need you to come through." And I'm like, "Dude, what do you want? The blood for, like, what do you want from me? You know, like, that's just your job. I got to do your job for you, you know." So, and that was a fucked up period in my life up until I got this job probably like a year and a half ago. Shit was pretty fucked up.
Damn.
I was making money, doing good, but then like me and my girl were doing bad. You know what I mean? When I just had to let her go, and that was real rough, way rougher on me than I expected too. And that's only a couple months after the shooting, so I was perpetuating just depression and anxiety. I never had both. I never had anxiety. I just had depression. I think my old man has some depression too, but anxiety was new to me. I didn't know what the fuck to do with that shit. So that's when I sought therapy, and it made things a little better. And one thing about therapy, dude, when I got done, I was getting laid left and right. Fuck, man. Maybe I need to go back. Shouts to Dr. Erica. She was fine, too. She would put me in check, though. She would really challenge me, which is good. Because I'm a very open book. And I'd come in there just talking, you know, and she would have to keep me in check. She's good people out on 4th and South. If you guys need some therapy, she's great.
And you were recording an album at that time, correct?
No, Vagoda had been done. It had been done. Last things we did were like screw tape stuff. There was a brownout at Studio 4, and we lost some of it, so I had to re-record some of it, which was good because we got this crazy mic. Will was able to get this crazy mic from Lauryn Hill. Put the thing together, and then the dude killed himself who put it back together like the old engineer.
Damn.
At the microphone factory. It's crazy, but that mic let me do the single with the video for Screw. I recorded that on that mic. That fucking mic was great. So just some re-recording stuff, but nothing, you know. I haven't really worked. I write raps, but I don't have any really new material. I might have some to sprinkle out just for free, just as a thank you real quick over some Bill Clinton stuff. Just some dusty instrumentals he had online. Because he just has, him and his Through Us Natives, just fucking so many beat tapes on there. So many. And I just picked one and did a couple tracks that he did. I might sprinkle that out there for the fans. And also there's the Re-Goda. We got the stuff that didn't make Vagoda, or the Pre-Goda rather. So there's about 5 or 6 tracks. Nobody's heard from that either.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because you had another Bandcamp. The only song was Automatic Leg Sweep. I think
that was just a promo for Vagoda from back then. Like Vagoda was almost done all the way back then.
Gotcha.
And Dub Caesar Clothing said they'd push it. Shouts to Adam, which they didn't. That's my man though. He's hooked it up. We've done business together. Good dude. I like that record, but that's like one that didn't make the cut. There was one with Tommy C, who I did a whole album with. I don't know if you've heard that.
Separated at Birth.
The Separated Birth. We have a song that nobody can find now. He's real mad about that because it was called Something in the Water. It was good. And then I have one with DJ TMB from England that originally I was trying to get Action Bronson on, and this is how long ago this was. That Bronson's requested price was $750.
Damn.
I probably could have gotten for $500.
Yeah.
But Vibe, being the tightwad that he is, wasn't trying to fork over any bread. Shouts to Bill Clinton, holding them pockets extra tight.
Did
And now Action Bronson's a TV star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm still schlepping. Motherfucker. God damn it.
Did you introduce Johnny Cab and
Yes,
Bill Clinton?
that is true. I did. Johnny was my man, and one thing about Johnny, like I said, like he had Raging Bullshit. I told you this earlier, like on his CD, on his computer, chopped up for samples the day after I saw it and wanted to make an album of it. So that was kind of like, I heard Vinny Paz use this word, kismet. He was describing this like he was doing the I Ching a lot when Valid by Design came out. He was saying on this podcast. So I don't believe in that kind of shit, but that definitely happened. And with Vibe, his wife used to date my best friend who's dead. And Vibe was at the funeral, and his wife has planted a tree in his honor about 15 years ago. On top of that, Vibe dated a good friend of mine's sister. So we kind of were in concentric circles, not knowing each other for a while. So when we met, we hit it off immediately. And he is a very curmudgeon, fucking ogreish hermit bastard. And I'm not. So I think that really helped us get along very well. And one thing about Vibe is he's very cut and dry in life and also with the beats. Like, he's a very, I wouldn't say simple, but he has a process. It doesn't take that long, and he gets the product he's looking for. Whereas Johnny Cab is a mad scientist, doesn't even know where he's going, you know, and makes beats very differently. But he's more of a producer, and Vibe is very good at finding the dope part of a sample instantly. Like, he'll listen to it and be like, that and that, like, you know, there's no guesswork. He knows what he's doing right away. So putting them together was kind of like two pieces to a pod. Like, Vibe is really good at this one aspect of it that makes Johnny that much better because it takes out of the work where he's not as decisive, you know? Yeah. And then you have Vibe in there being able to tell Johnny when he's going into outer space, rein it back a little and let's make it, you know, let's produce it like this. So the two of them together is great. I'm so happy they formed a friendship and getting along. It is great because, like, you know, Vibe isn't the most people, you know, person, so it's always good to get him a friend. And having Johnny, someone speak his language as a producer is good. Plus, it made them both grow. And it forces them to work together. So they'll just get together, take a weekend in the mountains, and just do an EP worth of beats or an LP's worth of beats, you know?
Yeah, kind of just did the math on that because I knew you had worked with Johnny Cab, and then
yeah, that was me for sure.
I think you said you got in touch with Bill Clinton through
Twitter. Through the twatter. Yeah, it's weird, you know. But I was tweeting a lot. He was tweeting a lot at the time, and now, like, if we might not even meet because he's never on there anymore. He's married now, working a lot. But yeah, it was a good time. Rich Quick had worked with him before me, my buddy Rich, and so he kind of told me he was cool, but they never met him. I went to his crib, hung out with him the whole night. Like, that's how if we're making music, we're getting down. You know what I mean? Like, you got to understand me, and I got to understand you just to make it work and communicate better, you know? I've never been one of those people to work with a lot of people that they don't really know, you know?
It's crazy, because I've talked to a few people about that, where it's like, you know, these guys make a track and it's like no one was in the room together.
Which is cool if you... I don't have a problem with that if it comes out dope or whatever. But at what point is, like, you know, Dave Grohl talking about American Idol, like, yeah, we're just 4 dudes from, you know, Washington, or 3 dudes just got together, and next thing you know, we blew up because we believed in ourselves. Like, you don't need these other people just because they have a name. Like, I'd rather build with my homies and make it authentic and, like, it's for real. You know, like, I do respect certain MCs, and I'm not saying I would never pay an MC or a producer for the work. That's the last thing I'm trying to say. I'm just saying I haven't too much, you know? I've looked out for some guys, you know, I'm not saying everything was done just on the hand, but, like, in terms of the way the industry works, it's never been like that, you know? A lot of these dudes I consider, like, really good friends, and we've come up together. But if I met somebody really dope tomorrow, I might put them on a track just because I think they're dope. Some people just level for name or, promotion, and that's kind of understandable, but disheartening at the same time.
You said you've kind of like stuck to your own self in that like there's kind of a lot of the rapper scene is kind of like crews.
Yeah.
Right, and you said you were kind of just
I come from a crew, but I was a solo artist in the crew, and that I didn't know that right away. But like we were all kind of solo artists, and we came together, and I don't really pick sides either. So like Corfu, I'm affiliated with. Like that's a very loose affiliation type thing. Like it's just we don't even like get together or anything. It's just like a Facebook text thread that when the bat signal goes out, we come out and I support those guys, and they sometimes support me too. But that's more of like a freestylers. Like when we come together, it could be a party. We could get it in. It just never happens. My other friends they get together. It's a more of a business thing. Like if a few of my friends have some labels and some situations, and that's their business. I happen not to be doing business with them. It doesn't mean I don't support them and we're not friends and I'm not there, but my business is my business, you know what I mean? And it's not, and I hate the business aspect of the music, you know what I mean? It's the worst fucking part. I work all day in business. I've been doing, art to me is something, and it might sound stupid, but like I have a sense of purity to it, maybe a Bill Hicks type of thing where like why like sponsorship why, and if it's a good sponsorship it's cool, but like people just get sponsored by anybody, take anybody's money, and I'm like I'm not trying to represent anything that isn't me, like the Battle Axe Warriors movement, a lot of people didn't even know what it was, but for the chance to spend a couple bucks and join a family, they were willing to do that, and I'm like that's cool, and some people need that and that structure, and it worked out for a lot of people, but I'm like I have a family, and I have a sense of self, and I am a leader, and while I respect those dudes and support a lot of those dudes, I think they're doing big things, like it's not for me, so kind of been a one-man gang in that aspect. And even with the records, like, I don't do so many guest appearances. Like, I think I do enough, but I like to rap on my fucking records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to rap on this beat. Like, I picked this fucking beat because I like it, And if I hear somebody on it, that's an authentic thing, but it's never like, yo, can I angle this, to do this so I could place this somewhere, It was never like that. But again, I'm not trying to eat off rap, so I can't really criticize anybody who does that, but it's just not my thing. I'm just trying to keep it really, as authentic and close to myself as possible.
Back to the, is it Us Natives?
Us Natives? This is like pre-Us Native. Like, this is Bill the Butcher, who says Us Natives in the movie Gangs of New York, which is where they get that from.
Okay.
I was just showing him a tattoo for the listeners. Now, I also have a group of friends from Long Island. They've spread all over called the Dead Rabbits. So I was trying to get Us Natives to produce a Dead Rabbits thing just like the movie. But it never worked out because Nightwalker didn't answer me back on Facebook. Fucking Bear Jew. Shouts to Nightwalker and all the Dead Rabbits. My man Taboo, Cold Cash, Coast, Laro, who directed my video out in Brooklyn. Yeah, so Us Natives kind of just came together through that, and they picked the name because we loved that. I remember watching that movie on mushrooms and really loving it with Johnny, and I think they kind of really liked the aspect of that, so they ran with it.
And they put out your latest album.
Well, I was just gonna put it out, so I was like, "Yo, he did as much work on it as I did." So I was like, "You just want to put it out on your page?" He's much more professional than I am, and so I felt like the fans would get a better product if the orders went through him because I'll mail them out a month later, and he did great with that, and I might, so there's another MC on Us Natives, Zane Rice, and so I figured it'd be cool to have a second MC, somebody else with some vocals on there, and like I said, our business, like with me and him, it's not business, we're just friends, so like X goes into the thing, I'm like, let's buy more CDs. Like, there's not, like, I'm not trying to line my coffers, and at no point neither is he. I'm just trying to make enough to sustain them and keep it moving. And so we sold some copies on there. He gave me the rest. I think I'm at about time now to re-up on CDs, or I'm getting very soon, do some t-shirts and do an album release properly, and film another video and push it. One thing I want to do with this record is push it all year. Even if I do other shit, like Vagoda is going to get pushed all year long. Like, I don't give a fuck. 7 years in the making, it deserves it. And how I know it deserves it because I don't hate it after 7 years. Like, I should hate this motherfucker, but I don't. And I don't listen to it a lot. I don't listen to myself a lot in general. Like, I'm not that kind of person. But when I do, it's some powerful shit, and it's like me talking to me now. A lot of it addressing things that I was doing with myself that I'm criticizing. It might seem like I might be criticizing other people, but subconsciously it's me talking about myself in a lot of ways, you know, and the things that I didn't like. And I was in a very angry place then, and I'm not as angry now. Sometimes it's good. And now is not a bad time to be angry in the world, you know. There's a lot of good reasons to be upset, and we can use that in a positive way. It's good. And I just want everybody to hear it at least once. Like, you don't have to buy it. Like, just go on my Bandcamp and listen to it, and you'll get something from it. I fucking promise you. It might not be a good thing. It might be a bad thing, but you'll get something from that record. There's a lot in there, and it's very heartfelt. I got a little emotional on some of it too, which isn't usually my thing. So, you know, I opened up a little bit. I made some songs, you know what I mean? Did a little singing, not real singing, but like rapper singing. So it's a little something for everybody on there. It's just hard. If you don't like hard music, get the fuck out of it then. But it's gonna bang, it's gonna thump, and it mellows out a little. But yeah, it's definitely some hard shit.
I asked this a lot. I forget who I stole it from. It might have been Marin. But when you have music sitting around like that, are you tempted? I mean, I realized you had a lot of shit going on, but like when you like went back, was there any part of you that was like, oh, I have to scrap this, or I can't put this?
No, I don't scrap anything. Everything gets used. There's Raging Bullshit tracks that have been redone and added for a project with Johnny Cab called Mr. Warmth that's been in the works since Raging Bullshit. And here's the thing, like, I know Bullshit MC, like, everything I fucking write is fucking gold. Like, when I decide it's done, like, it's done. If I spit it right, that shit is fucking fire. Because I'm my own worst fucking critic. I don't put nothing out that's not fucking gonna be, not necessarily my best, but
how long is that usually, like, from, like, starting writing?
I'm saying I could record a project in a weekend. Right now, I could do 4 songs and drop an EP with a mix in a weekend and take me a week. There is no... you know, right amount of time. You know what I mean? Like Burroughs, it took him 15 years to write Naked Lunch and then get off the drugs and put it back together. Like, it's life. It's just your life, you know? And Vibe told me, January 1st, this album's dropping. That's when he hit me up. I was like, what the fuck do you mean? He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm putting out the record. And that put me in the go mode, lining things up, getting things together, making it look like a promotion. It's just me and him. You know, I don't have anybody else. There's no cavalry. I don't have a promoter. I don't have a publicist, you know. So it's just working and staying on top of it and doing what you can. I'm not killing myself, you know. I'm not a starving artist, again, but I'm just trying to put the right push out there, keep it organic, make real fans. And, you know, hopefully that builds a little bit to a point where me and my friends who are starting to do business, we can, you know, start talking, doing business together. And, you know, doing bigger and better things. And then the more things like this, like podcasting, acting, like I like where you're at with the comedy and stuff. I think there's money in that for sure. And eventually getting away, being successful enough to make so much money from the side shit, you don't need the regular shit. Yeah. But until then, you know, just doing what I can with what I have, you know. I'm able now to release music as much as I want to on every platform with no extra cost. So anything I put out is not going to cost me anything. It's already sunk. So I put Vagoda out that had a sunk cost to it. Now I can put out as much music as I want. And I can get it on iTunes in a day. I put Vagoda on iTunes, it came out the next day. So I don't know why I waited 2 months after the release, but it was on iTunes the next day. So, you know, we're in a different world now, you know? And I'm just going to try and put some more music out there, build up the content. Content's very important. Maybe do the website thing, take myself more seriously. You know, get like my friends who are starting to do some big things. They're very inspirational. It's cool to have friends who inspire you to do things. Like you were saying, like the comedy clique circles kind of like that. the rap click circle's kind of like that. But when anybody wins that I know, I feel like I win. Like, and I want them to win, even if I don't like them. Like, if you're from around here and you ate the same shit cookies I was eating, good for fucking you, man. Go win. Like, I don't know if you know who Little Uzi Vert is. You ever heard of this dude?
Yeah.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
Huge. I want him to win, even though he's a little shithead, just because he's from fucking Philly. Even Meek Mills, when he was taking those losses, I still wanted him to win, you know? If you're from around here, or if I can identify or vibe with you, you know, I'd like to see people succeed.
In this album, I don't know if I've said the name, Vas
You pronounced my name right.
had some pretty monumental, some pretty big name Philly, I don't know how to say this, stuff in it, where a lot of it recorded at Marston House.
And then, yeah, if some of it was recorded at Marston House, then we re-recorded most of it back in Studio 4.
Which is owned by Phil and Joe Nicolo, who ran Rough House Records.
And, dude, I'm still cool with Will, and so, like, Rough House Records came back.
Yeah.
So, they put out Beanie Siegel's album a couple years ago, and this is why I'm no longer allowed to smoke weed in the studio. Beans brings all state property through the night that there's a police convention. Upstairs is a food establishment at the studio. It's like a pub of some kind.
Yeah.
And the cops just smell this reefer fest going on downstairs. And they're like, listen, if we ever smell weed or get a call about weed here again, we're coming through and we're confiscating stuff and saying you're a distribution hub.
Damn.
Because it was all of state prop, you know what I mean? And so that was the end of Rough House Records right there. They bought it. Phil bought it off of Joe to be able to put it out. Got some backers, and then Beans went fucking to jail. One of my favorite rappers went straight to fucking jail for tax shit, not even gangster shit. And all they told him to do was shut the fuck up and just go in. But drugs are bad. You listen to Beans now; he's a wise man. You know, he's off the drugs. He's been shot in the stomach. You know, he's got a lot of wisdom. Have you heard any of the podcasts he's done recently?
No.
Because, like, Meek Mill's had him beat up and stuff. So there's a podcast on Taxstone before and after.
Oh, word. So,
like, he's definitely, I wouldn't call him the smartest dude. He's wise, though. And he's a wise gangster, which means he knows what he's, like, he'll live his shit. Like, he's not talking no, you know, bullshit. He talked about telling his dad to suck his dick on a record, and then feeling a tap on his shoulder in the middle of the hood, and there's the old man. Like, walk with me, son. Walk with me. And, like, the host was like, yo, that record's one of your best records. He's like, my only regret in music was introducing my father to my genitals. He's like, he took me to the fucking local bar. Like, we're in my hood. He takes me to the hood-ass bar, sits me down, plays a fucking Teddy Pendergrass song or something, buys me a shot. Yes, I'm going to tell you one thing. Don't you ever do that shit again. He said he grabbed me by... Beanie Siegel said he grabbed him by the fucking shoulder and crippled half his body. And that was it. And he's dead now. His dad's dead, so...
Oh, damn.
Like, you know what I mean? Getting wisdom from a gangster is crazy shit, you know? And this fucking gangster fucked my shit up back at the studio by being 2G and on drugs at the time. This wise-ass man. If he was only a little wiser back then, you know? Shouts to Hollywood Will Yip while we're at it, and Phil Nicolo, and everybody working in Studio 4. Will, if you would return my calls or texts at some point, other than the positive messages of go get him Tiger, which I really do appreciate. You're the best. Let's fucking hang out, you motherfucker. You're talking about workaholic.
Yeah.
That dude lives in the fucking studio.
Yeah, I've heard some stories. And he's produced some pretty...
Yo, he's Billboard Joe, bro.
Albums.
Not to me, because I don't know that side of the music, but in 2014, I think he made Billboard 10 times.
Damn.
Top 200.
Yeah.
That's some shit. You talk about Circus Survive cracking the top 10 from Doylestown Band, right?
Yeah.
He does work with Title Fight. I know Anthony Green of Circus Survive, they do a lot of work together, but there's stuff I don't know. He just never stops working, you know? And that's a real serious studio.
Phil was a teacher of mine for a minute, and he definitely told me some wild Beanie Siegel stories and some wild Lauryn Hill stories.
Yeah, so Will's my engineer. Boom. Life is great. Oh my God, we're going to record all this shit 3 weeks later. Yeah, Phil just signed us with Lauryn Hill. I got to go to Orange, New Jersey every day. So, like, yes, I have the greatest engineer, and then boom, so like Will and I, it's whenever it could happen, which is partially why Vagoda took so long, because I wanted to keep that sound. And this point, like I said, he's even hard to get to. He's the fucking man. But yeah, fucking Lauryn Hill and Beanie Siegel fucked my shit up, man. But then Lauryn Hill came back with the mic, with the golden ass mic that I can record on if I ever get a hold of Will again. So, you know, I can never thank that dude enough, though. Will, man, always treated me beyond what I deserve to be treated. In all seriousness, a great dude. And a true fucking professional, you know, and I'm an amateur ass motherfucker. So for him just to like my talent enough to treat me with respect was crazy, you know. Maybe he liked me too. So I pretend to be a nice guy, but and he got Johnny to do some work for him from time to time, you know. And now he's about to be owning that studio. He's buying into it, and I'm very, very proud of the kid. He's from Northeast too.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's from
yeah. I think
like Franklin Mills, somewhere up there.
Yeah, I think a buddy of mine like knew him, and like
he went to Central. So a lot of kids like from up there knew him because he would record them at like, and he's a drummer. He used to drum for Schoolie. Like when I met him, he was drumming for Schoolie D.
Oh no shit.
While engineering, yeah.
Damn.
And then the Lauryn Hill shit happened. He got me to Rock the Bells for free. I saw him engineer Lauryn. I couldn't go backstage that day because it was Tribe Called Quest reunion. So like, dude, just come tomorrow. I'll get you in backstage tomorrow. And I'm like, I have to work. I own a pizza store right around here in glorious South Philadelphia. And calls me the next day. He's like, yo, man, I was hanging with Nas. You could have been hanging with Nas. I was like, why are you telling me this, man? Why are you doing this to me? You know? And that's Will. Like, to him, Nas is like, not some earth. Like, he likes Jimmy Eat World. You know, like I was his only hip hop dude that he ever really messed with outside of, you know, the work he did, which was limited on like the Beanie Siegel record. They tried to work with a couple more pop rap artists, but I don't remember anything happening. But what's weird with music, man, shit just takes off you wouldn't expect to, and he just keeps investing in himself, and he's going to be doing moguling very soon, as Phil would put it. Yeah, Phil was like, oh, by 30 I was on the moguling. He told Johnny one time. It was great.
It's weird if you don't like know, because I just happened to be familiar with Title Fight when I met Will.
Okay.
So like that's how he was introduced to like our class. Was like, oh, he's done albums for it. Because like I know Sugar Survive, but I've never listened to him.
I never listened to either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was working with Will before these dudes. No type of like real like, you know, structure, just off that the grace of his hand, you know. And then he starts working with these bands that people know, love, people I know wear their clothing, you know. And I'm like, dude, how do you know that band? They're like, they're huge. And I'm like, really? That's my man's. Like, they're like, nah. And I'm like, yeah, you know. I was just weird, you know. And he's a humble kid. Great story. We go to Studio 4. It's me and Il Clinton in the car. And this dude walks by. Al Clinton's like, look at this motherfucker, this tight pants in here. I'm like, that's Will. And he's like, you said he was Chinese. And he turns and he's like, oh shit, you know, because Will's Chinese. But he had like this flaxen haired, like long, you know, looking like a punk, you know, like he would. And I was like, yo, that's our man. That's the man with the plan. I love him. I wouldn't take him any other way.
I forget what you were saying, but I had written down Mighty Python, or Monty Python, and
they're my favorite, man.
Humor was humor big to you?
Very big.
Yeah.
Fucking, I wanted to be a comedian long before I wanted to be a rapper, and the nuns at St. Joseph's just beat it out of me. Yeah, humor is so important to me, and I don't watch a lot of funny stuff anymore. Like I watch a lot of serious shit now, and it's not easy to make me laugh, you know.
Yeah.
But very, very important. Like, I don't even know. If I hear something's brilliant on a humor tip, I'll have to check it out. You know what I mean? Next level shit. And I think it's, when you laugh, you're never more alive. You know, your body's expanding all the way out. You know what I mean? And compressing. I laughed the other day hard enough that I cried. That doesn't happen a lot. But you remember those moments, you know, when your body hurts from laughing. And, like, it's so special. And, there's so many different ways to be funny, and like the way Monty Python did it with the layers, man, and the dry humor, especially the movies. I don't watch enough of the show, but the movies, The Meaning of Life is like one of my favorite movies of all time. and it's heavy and funny at the same time. And that's what I like about money, is they're heavy, but they're funny at the same time. You know what I mean? They're making a statement, but you laugh at it, you know?
Yeah. Because I know you're also a Chomsky fan.
I'm not. I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
I just know that I should. Like, that's why they're like, who would you want to sit down with? And I was like, I don't know anything about Noam Chomsky, but I know that I definitely should, and he would definitely be a great person. I would gain the most from talking to that guy in a selfish way. Like, you know what I mean? I would definitely learn a lot about the things that I want to know about from talking to him. There's another dude, he might be dead. Oh, what the fuck is his name? Oh, he's got a weird name. But he made a book called Working, and it's where he interviews workers at their jobs or whatever. And candid conversation. It wasn't even humor. It was like candid conversation. That shit is incredible. Just listening to real people talk and how they talk, because that's what makes podcasts cool. Is like radio isn't like a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, you have to talk a certain way on the radio station, whether at 6. You know,
it's only so many minutes. You know what I mean? It's like
hearing people talk the way they really talk and expressing themselves, and that's what makes a good writer, like someone able to translate that into the written word too, so somebody can read it and get into that style of language and pace. You feel where they're coming from, you can understand somebody's emotional state, you know, there's a lot to that. And then when you add the humor, so you put it in a certain way, you dissect how it's going to sound, you control your voice and emotion and your spastic movement, or even with looking at the screen, like even with the cartoons from Terry Gilliam, you know? And you get somebody to an emotional place that's good. That's the best emotional place. That's mid-laughter. You know what I mean? The opposite of like a Clive Barker. You know? Like working to get you to that place of fear. Like, I don't want to be in it. It's cool that they do that. I'm much more on this side. Like, I've always wanted to make people laugh. And sometimes when you just call it how it is and people never heard it that way, they really laugh hard. That's always cool. There's a truth to laughter too, you know? It's either real or it's not. Either somebody thinks you're funny or they're not, for whatever reason, you know?
we talked a little bit about this earlier before we started. It was political correctness.
In 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say a lot of shit I shouldn't say on the Vagoda record, is for sure. I think rap is the one last bastion.
Yeah.
People said that to me, like, it's rap, it's okay. And I'm like, I don't know. Because if a woman or a homosexual or someone who may be offended by something that I said, but then again, I'm trying to offend you too to get you to pay attention. So on Raging Bullshit, I had a song called Vas Alaikum, which is an interpretation of Arab greeting, you know what I mean, or a Muslim greeting, per se. It's like, may God be with you, may God also be with you, you know what I mean? And I'm making fun of that. But like, Jay-Z called himself Jehovah, you know, God, and like, there's this whole thing, you know, so with the religious aspect, I always felt like I could get away with everything, right? But then when you come to more of the civil rights, it's a tough place to call. You know, I'm not going to stop saying faggot just because somebody wants me to, but I don't want to hurt anybody who hears that and then be like, well, I'm gay, he's offending me. I really am not trying to do that. So there's a thin line. And as I got older, I think I don't say it as much, but I still say that shit at work under my breath and shit just as a reaction. And it's not good. It's not healthy, you know, but it's kind of how I came up. And you said you think it might be a Neasty Philly thing, a Newtsy thing, Northeast White Trash. I can't believe that's the name of your podcast. Did you hear that song, the Northeast White Trash song? That's the shit.
It's weird because I don't like the idea of not saying certain things around certain people. Like, because I have gay friends, so it's like...
Yeah, but I don't walk up on a black person and drop the N-word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have done the opposite. Not even directionally, just in conversation with gay people. You know, and that's not true. I have done it with black people, drunk or incidentally, just not being on my square, on my circle. And I've only been corrected once, and I respect that dude, Baby Huey. And like other times I thought maybe I'm going to have issues with people. But if you come from a good place, people understand that. But it doesn't give you a right to make them feel a certain way either. You know, so it's a thin line. And I don't know. I don't want to stop saying it. Does that make me wrong? Does that make me a piece of shit?
I don't. It's definitely.
Yeah, but even like when I rap, I'll make fun of a rapper for being gay, and what I'm ultimately scared of is a really good gay rapper coming back and being like, "Well, I am the fruitcake you were making fun of. I do sit on plungers for fun, and guess what? I can rap as good as you can, and I'm gonna make fun of you." You know, it's like one of your ultimate fears. Like in anime, you watch any anime? You ever seen Ninja Scroll?
No.
So Ninja Scroll, the main villain is fucking gay, like bisexual. It makes him even creepier because, you know what I mean? Like there's so much to that element of it, you know? So again, I have no hatred in my heart towards gay people. What I do have a problem with is on these goddamn new porn sites throwing in all the gay and irregular shit right in with the regular attractions, all right? That shit is fucked up. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. My eyes don't need to be seeing shit like I didn't sign up for this. You know? I signed up for fucking regular porn, regular, in the middle of regularity. All right? God damn it. It's not my fault. XNXX, get it the fuck together.
You said something to the effect of honesty and rap don't always go hand in hand.
You're bragging so much. How could you possibly be honest, you know? Big Pun said you couldn't measure his dick with 6 rulers, and that's great because he's lying. But it's awesome, you know? I think there's more of an honest feel to it, or a dishonest feel to it.
You also said, like, because you said something like, you know, when you're rapping, you get to say all this shit that you can't say. And,
you can't say it all the time. You can't say, fuck you, piece of shit, cunt, bitch. You know what I mean? You can say that shit in your rap if you want to. No one's to stop you, you know? So, I think subconsciously you just let out a lot of shit, too, that you just have pent up inside. Which is why I think a lot of people like it as therapy, you know? But I'm trying to entertain myself while writing the raps so that I can entertain myself while rapping the raps so that I can entertain you while hearing the raps, you know? So I'm trying to play games in and of itself. And then in there, just trying to play these games come moments of real clairvoyance and honesty and understanding of situations, you know? A lot of times I feel as though people in rap, like Big L's a great example. He never laughed on like the Stretcher Bobbito show. You know how that dude laughed. You know he had a sense of humor, but like when he was rapping mode, he's rapper time, and that's it. There's no weakness. There's a super masculine sense of it. There's a lot of jail influence if you think about it. You know, dominance, alpha male mentality. You know, I'm the best. Every rapper thinks they're the best. Yeah. Or for a long time, I thought that you have to think you're the best. I just think that you have to be you and just make art. But, like, rap is different. Yeah. It's also a competitive sport. And at the same time, I'd like to say, oh, we're making a record together collaboratively. But I've never made a record where I wasn't trying to make the best verse. I don't give a shit who was on there, you know? I always wanted to have the best verse. Or if I did 2 verses, I wanted both of my verses to be better than the other guy's verse, you know? So when you do a song with, like, a Reef the Lost Cause, you know what I mean? He can do things I can't do. Yeah. So I'm just trying to. That's why I have to bring greatness to it, and then the song just comes out great because we've all brought it together. You know, I think sometimes of Vinny and Rugged Man on the song about Vietnam, where Vinny just had an idea for the song. You know, Stoop made a beat. Vinny did a verse about war in Vietnam, and then Rugged Man just took that and gave you his dad's life story in 44 bars, and it's going to live forever in the pantheon of rap as one of the greatest verses of all time. Source put it in fucking verse of the year, and they haven't paid attention to him since fucking, you know, Stanley Kubrick, what he said a couple pages in the Source maybe if he dies, you know? So when you can get that honesty out of somebody, it makes the rap even better instead of the posture. Yeah. We're tough. All rappers got to be like. Now it's different. We're in 2017. Like, rappers are way weird. But when I was coming up, rappers had to be tough, hard, couldn't take no shit. You know what I mean? You had a dick the size of a bazooka. You had a harem of women waiting at your house. There was a plethora of automobiles to select from. You know what I mean? Yeah. And none of that was true. And everybody knew none of it was true. But when you were rapping, you had to turn all that on. You know. It was true for like 4 rappers, but everybody else talked the same shit, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely something about like a persona in hip hop more than any other like genre of music. I feel like
That's why I respect Doom.
mm.
Destroys his persona. I actually have a line I wrote that'll come out soon. It's art imitates the author, so vacate the persona.
Mm.
Because you just need to be yourself that day. You could be different use, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I like Doom. He is Doom, Victor Vaughn. He did the Monster Island Czar shit. He would reinvent himself like Zevlov X, you know? It's okay to do that. Whereas Too Short, from a business perspective, said I've been rapping about bitches and hoes for albums 1 through 16, and they've done pretty fucking good. I can't just now start rapping about, you know, white picket fences and gardening and think that's okay, you know? I need to keep rapping about bitches and hoes, which is a shame because he should. If he really wants to rap about, you know, applesauce and pork chops, he should be allowed to.
I feel like there's been like I had Cryptic one on here who was in the Adult Rappers movie, and I've been listening to a lot of newer J-Zone. Because like I was listening to Def Jux and like I like some J-Zone beats, but I was never really into J-Zone.
Big fan.
And then I read his book and I was like, this dude's the fucking...
Never listened to his solo music, but anytime he was with somebody else, he would steal the show.
But
he got a track on Vinny Paz's new album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where he plays, like, cause now he's into playing on the live drums. So he plays drums on the record. Not my favorite J-Zone beat, but he's trying to, it's not, doesn't sound like him either. But like, every time he would do shit with Eastern Conference, he's on the One Rugged Man album, he smashes that shit. I would just hear his shit all random. But I never really listened to his stuff, or like his album with Self-Titled. He's crazy, and his book is great.
Yeah.
That book is great.
And like, reading that book, and then like I listened to his like 2 albums after that, and like I went back and listened to his other shit, but like his newer shit, and like I mentioned in Cryptic one, I think there's a lot of guys where it's like rap has really become more adult in a lot of way, or at least like you have like adult rappers making adult music.
I think Atmosphere, who I don't listen to, was big on that. They were just making relationship music, which is all most music really is, like on the radio, right?
Yeah.
Not all of it, but like they were making serious music. I think Sean Price took the veil off of, I get like a $4 royalty check, B. Like I'm still slanging, you know, construction worker in the hood, you know? And nobody cared because they still dope. So, like, I think that let rappers know you can take, like, the childish... Because, remember, it still comes from the dozens. We're insulting each other a lot. There's a lot of dukes up, you know? And in 2017, we're more feminine than ever in the world. And I'm not saying we're even overly feminine, but more than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Women's culture. And one thing they say is just to accept and let go, you know what I mean? And to soften instead of harden in those situations, and better things can come. And I think that's what we're seeing with, it's not like this superhero, I've robbed motherfuckers, I fuck mad bitches. Like, it's stories of life, and those are going to ultimately extend hip-hop for a long time, giving it a real substance. You know, we'll always have the shit we had, but taking it to new places is really what's going to extend it.
Are you still working on an album with Level 13?
We got like 4 tracks done. He gave one of the samples to Adlib for that Up track. That I kind of written to. He's working, and I'm a bum. So like I never like we'll never not do this record. I'm gonna finish it. I have some really crazy shit for this record. In all seriousness, like, I address a couple issues. I don't usually do that. So I have a song where I address the entire banking structure of America in 3 verses. Then I have another song is 3 different capitalist perspectives and how it's all based in greed. Like, there's not just one rich type of dude. There's people who, you know, hoard money. And we worship that. And so I want to just show you the perspective, their perspective, what they think of you. You know, the people who really hoard the money, you know. And I had a couple shit-talking tracks, like a summertime track. Yeah, so maybe this summer. Like, he's always down. And Baby Black, who is a legend in Philly. Shouts out to fucking Black. That is my dude. Baby Black and him got a good situation going on. So at any time, we could definitely... I already have a couple tracks recorded over at C7, J Black Labs. and definitely would like to wrap that up. But he's working. Like, my man stays working. So he's got the 50-50 with TMB. He's got his own project that my verse was recorded on 6 years ago that's about to come out, right? He's got Ren Thomas EP. Ren's doing 3 EPs with 3 different producers. So he's got a Ren Thomas EP coming out. Him and Black are working on something. He's submitting beats constantly to Tommy Boy for the new Method Man project, trying to work with Fab and Kiss. And there's a dude who I can admire because he sets a plan and he works it with whatever he has. He doesn't really have a lot, but whatever he has, he puts everything into it, and I give him a lot of respect. And there's a dude I get to drink swill because he likes drinking craft beer, and I get him to drink some real trash. And I like craft beer when I'm with Will. I always like to take it down a couple notches. It's great. He lives around here too. He's a South Philly kid, for sure. His sister used to come into my pizza store, man, years ago, Grace. Yeah, and it used to be him and his brother were level 13, but now it's just him. His brother Steve, I think, lives out in Jersey. He's doing his thing. But yeah, Will's a great dude. Big shouts to him. Saw him last night, actually.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about how those some of those songs are about specific subjects, and you had said a lot of those samples came from when you went
to Greece.
Yeah, when
he called me in Greece, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna come back with some samples and start working," and that was it. So I came back. We started working. He wasn't working though, like really working a job, and I kind of was in an unemployed bum stage. So we did a lot of talking. It was ever since I've been working, we haven't really gotten together and put in work. But I think pushing Vagoda through and getting it out took a lot off my chest, like spiritually. And so now I feel more open to start getting some more work done. And he's really easy to work with. You know, he listens. He's there for the music. And so I think just pushing out Vagoda can get all those cobwebs out and just start pushing. I need to keep it up. I can't just put one record out now. I need to keep dropping shit on motherfuckers just so the name stays out there. Because I haven't done anything really yet, you know. I would like to start doing some. I can't even get booked on shows right now. Shows I would get booked on 6 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm getting a little disrespected by the promoter, but it's okay. The harder I work, do for self, it'll all come around. You know what I mean? Those dudes, I got to pack the house. I got to make them trust me too. You know? So just trying to keep working, and that album would be huge, man. Especially the way he's grown. You know what I mean? It would be great, and it's all the samples are Greek thus far for sure. I also want to shout out, I know Nico the Beast and Cenobite were doing like a similar concept record. I don't know if they're still doing that. My man Cenobite, I haven't seen him in a while, and Nico was on my record. Shouts to Cenobite for sure. I definitely like to get up with him more. I never do. And I feel like he's like a Greek in here, and like I was in a fucked up place in my life when he came around. So like I couldn't really open up, you know, my arms to him like that. I was just in a real fucked up space. But he's a great dude, makes crazy beats. I never ever checked him out.
Yeah.
He's and he was big in Greece, even like with this one rapper who was murdered by like the Nazi party. Like he knew this dude and shit. Yeah, it's crazy. So yep, I like to shout out that dude for sure. I'd like to get up with him soon. And his wife, she's nice peoples, for sure.
Yeah, you went over there around the time of the economic collapse, right?
Yeah, I wanted to see a lot of it, too. Yeah. I think that was bothering my psyche a lot as well. And I knew they were just going to fucking, you know, they don't run tanks through countries anymore. They run banks through countries. So Germany essentially just raped and pillaged the Greek economy for another 15 to 30 years, which I'm not saying we don't deserve, but it's not going to make anything better for anybody.
Yeah.
Punishing, like, it's weird how, like, you know, parenting and economics is like you punish somebody for what they did before, it's just going to make it worse than it was. You know, there's a way to work things through, and this shit is only going to help the countries that are currently being helped. It's not going to do anything for the countries that are struggling, which is only going to divide the EU, which look what happened with Brexit.
Yeah.
But Britain was allowed to exit Europe. Greece was not. We voted Grexit, and we couldn't. They said no. Our prime minister hid in the Brussels building of the EU till security found him in the bathroom, probably standing on a toilet, so they couldn't see his shoes. And he came back. He said, "I completely disagree with this, but you have to sign it." You know. That's fucking sounds like extortion.
Yeah.
Where I come from. You know what I mean? Jean-Claude Juncker, I think that's his first fucking name, was piece of shit from fucking Belgium. First of all, as Belgium and France go, you should not ever talk no types of shit after rolling the red carpet out for Hitler during World War II. You know what I'm saying? And laying the fuck down. How the fuck is this shit even in Brussels and Belgium, of all the fucking countries? Small, rich countries that can sustain themselves because they have wild exports. Meanwhile, in Greece, you know, life's a beach in Greece. These Greek people don't give a fuck about shit because they go outside and it's fucking gorgeous every day. So the politicians, you know, run roughshod the country. So what do? Just make more incentives for the politicians to do more things, to steal more money from the banking that's just lending us more money at higher interest rates. Yeah. You know, just perpetuating the system. Shouts to all my fucking Greek people, though, man. It's not your fault. It's not your fucking fault. All the kids who have no jobs, it ain't your fault.
Yeah.
You know? You're looking down and condescending and criticizing. The kids have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So we need to do better for them. And we could have Grexited. The economic advisor quit after that in Greece, too.
Damn.
Yannis Varoufakis. They say he's the only winner of the whole austerity measures because he quit and turned himself into a celebrity and now writes and goes on TV and stuff. He would show up to a press conference on his motorcycle, pull up, smoking a cigarette. He's the man, though. My cousin had his book on his table. It was how I explain the economy to my child in Greek. So I can't read Greek that well, but I could read the title and understand that. And I was like, that's heavy stuff. You know, this dude's a pretty brilliant dude. And he had the whole Grexit strategy plan, back to the drachma, the whole nine. They cut his legs out and he quit.
Damn. So I maybe we'll be seeing more political, economic stuff from you in the future.
Yeah, the podcasts are good for that, to get that release out. But this fucking Bush depressed the fuck out of me. That was my original depression stage, was when Bush got reelected. The Eagles lost the Super Bowl. I quit going to school. It was a rough time for me. I couldn't really deal with that shit, you know. Now, this is even more of a joke. And then it's everything's in your face now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we're not even going to talk about, on the fringe, we got Alex Jones on the Joe Rogan podcast not lying about massive pedophile rings. Like, this is the leadership of our country. You know what I mean? Like, not even, when the crazy man is right, like, shit's fucked up. You know, when he's able to prove, like, shit that does not sound that could ever happen, we're in a bad state. And, you know, how long are we privileged to have plastic fucking chicken face man running the country because I really feel as though the people who are taking advantage of him now, when he's done the use, or when he becomes not the puppet they need him to be, or when he becomes self-aware, they're going to string him up like a turkey, sacrifice him like a lamb, and then we have Mike Pence, who believes you should be able to say no to serving a gay person at your store just because they're gay. That's way more dangerous to me. You know what I mean? Trump don't even know what he's doing. He's just trying to hoard money and put the Trump brand in the best position possible for the rest of, you know, his kids and their kids' kids. You know what I mean? A regular piece of shit. Pence, on the other hand, is on some ideological shit that's just fucked, you know? So, we're damned if we do with Trump impeachment. We're damned if we don't. I don't know about you, but I couldn't vote in this last election with any type of conscience.
No.
And people are like, well, you're the reason Trump won. And I'm like, well, maybe we need to see fucking Trump for you to understand why I couldn't vote for this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't vote for her. My man Byrne, he tried to help us all. It's a nice old man. Killer Mike. I listened to Killer Mike on Killer Mike and LP on the Drink Champs podcast yesterday. I listened to that a little bit, and that was great. You know, and then Noriega said, Mike, I was so proud of you out with Bernie Sanders, but I knew not to call your phone as a former felon. Because I knew they were having that shit tapped.
Before we get too depressing, is there anything you want to plug, or places where people can find you, find your music?
So let's plug Instagram at Vas Vagoda, Twitter at Vas Vagoda, Facebook is at Vostradamus Vagoda for the fan page, at Vasiladelph for my page. I do want to plug My album V for Vagoda, it is available on Bandcamp with physical copies as well as a digital download. It is now on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, hopefully Pandora, everywhere else you pretty much get music digitally, Amazon Music. Also would like to plug the podcast we've been working on called Audiograph. It's going to be coming soon. Like to once again tell you to go cop up on my brother Adlib's Primitive Tomorrow record that just came out yesterday. Ren Thomas, I've Been Nice. And I'm not even on these records, you know what I mean? This is just to push the movement. I've Been Nice, man. Ren, if you guys don't know about Ren Thomas, you're going to find out real soon. Yeah. He's been building. He got me in a video on a track produced by Pete Rock. Damn. You know, EP with Pete Rock might be coming soon, so he's been doing big things. And his partner in rap, my man Screw Tape, who introduced me to Ren, he's got a record coming out. Beauty Number 2 should be great. I heard some of it yesterday so they put out like it's like little them just jamming, and I haven't watched it. Like I like to digest an album as an album.
Yeah.
So yesterday I kind of digested their set as like a little mini album, and it was dope. But yeah, man, that's it. Shouts to my fucking workplace. I'm not gonna drop any names. Everybody I worked with, good looking. Yeah, trying to get this shit done. And everybody who featured on my album, real quick. Many, many thanks to Johnny Cab, Reef the Lost Cause, Screw Tape, John Morrison, Diggs Darklighter, my man Rick Rock Filthy, Nico the Beast, DJ TMB, and DJ Crew Cut, man. I really appreciate you guys helping me make this. I know Crew Cut thought it was never going to see the light of day, but I'm glad to have proved him wrong. He's the fucking man. He might be more of a curmudgeon than Bill Clinton. And they got married on the same day. So, like, it was Tommy C at, like, Crew Cut's wedding and me and Johnny over at Bill Clinton's wedding, you know? Crazy, man. Shouts to all those dudes. And, again, my name is Vas, V-A-S, all caps. Don't mispronounce it. Yeah, man, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah,
I
thanks
really
for coming
appreciate
through.
it. Yeah, man. Definitely. This is cool. Good times. Cool stuff.